Well, welcome back. Now, the African National Congress in KwaZulu-Natal and in Gauteng have announced their new leadership. Both provinces held their elective conferences at the weekend. In KwaZulu-Natal, Sihle Zikalala retained his position as chairperson, and in Gauteng, David Makhura was also elected chairperson after acting in that position for several months. Now, disgruntled members in both provinces approached the courts to try and interdict the conferences ahead of time, but both were later dismissed. And to discuss this further, we joined for this segment by Sihle Zikalala, who is in our Durban studios, and we're going to unpack what happened there this weekend. Mr. Zikalala, good morning, and thanks for speaking to us here on Morning Live.
Thanks, and good morning to you and the viewers of your program, and thanks for having us in your program.
Mr. Zikalala, on Saturday, at the closing of your conference, you actually commended branches and members for the discipline that they showed throughout that conference. So how would you say your overall assessment of this particular conference would look?
Well, we want to express our appreciation and commend the branches, especially delegates, who constituted 93% of that conference, for the discipline they showed, but also for engagement, especially deliberations on issues that are pertinent and affecting the movement. I believe it was an expression of unity. The manner in which a delegate conducted themselves was, in fact, enhancing unity of the ANC, but also it is clear that all organizational structures are committed to ensure that we take the ANC forward as we prepare for the 2019 general elections.
So since the Nasrec conference, the word unity has been bandied about, quite vigorously. But the Secretary General of the ANC, Makhura, and I quote him, said this on Sunday. And he said, unity is not just going to happen because we come together, we sit together, we walk together and go out there. Unity is a process. So how do you respond to that? Because at the end of your conference, a lot was said about unity, but how do you respond to what the SG is saying?
Yes, Comrade SG, I think, was emphasizing that point, that unity is a process. We must work together. We must ensure that we accommodate each other. But what unifies the organization, it's unity in action, which find expression through the practical implementation of the organizational program and participation of all people into the program of the ANC. So to maximize unity, we need to ensure that all members of the ANC are integrated into the movement. But more than that, we need to ensure that we take that emphasis on unity to an expression where the program of action will be inclusive and will ensure that it reaches all areas.
Mr. Zikalala, of course, the conference was almost halted once again, and there seems to be this trend of people who would rather approach the courts to try and have their voices heard. And when I spoke to you earlier on in the week, you said you did not anticipate that, but of course it did happen again, that there was another attempt to interdict the conference, unsuccessfully though. So what actually do you believe gives rise to this? Is there no space for dissenting voices in the ANC?
I think we do have space, and we do allow dissent and all views to emerge in the organization. But maybe it has become a tendency where other people just see things and it becomes easy to take the organization to court. We will be engaging with those comrades because it is important that we understand why they will opt for taking the ANC to court rather than engaging on issues internally, because that is what is expected. If comrades are aggrieved or they have concerns, they must bring those concerns within the movement.
So why do you think they are not doing that? Why are they not bringing it to the movement? Because, as you say, you will now engage them, but surely it would have been better to engage them before the court process and not after.
Before and as a build-up to the conference, we engage all comrades, all structures, especially those comrades who were aggrieved. We engage, we even settled issues that were in court. We managed to have an out-of-court settlement or a court order on what must be done. And after that, we continue to engage structures. But it was surprising that we find other comrades just going to court to try and interdict the conference again. But for us now, what is important is to ensure that those comrades are engaged, their concerns are addressed, and therefore we move with speed, all of us, to focus on the elections campaign. We need even those comrades in the elections campaign. It is important for the ANC to continue providing leadership in South Africa, because we can speak with no hesitation that there is no organization that has a vision and a program that can deliver a total liberation for our people except the ANC.
Mr. Zikalala, I want to read a tweet here for you from someone who calls themselves Centric Black, and he says, being a member of hashtag ANC KZN should be added to 1,000 ways to die. Gubinje. So, you know, and this, of course, on the back of yet another member of the ANC being gunned down this weekend on Saturday morning. The perception that this creates is that it has now become an extreme sport to be a member of the ANC, especially in KZN. As the leader of the party in that province, how do you manage that perception?
One, we need to deal with it and confront it direct. We need to ensure that police are assisted to deal with all cases where leaders have been killed. But with regard to the Saturday one, we'll want to make it clear that, but firstly to start by sending our condolences to the family of Comrade Bongani Mkhize. But more than that, we want to make it clear that we must separate criminal activities from political differences or political issues. The person who is alleged to have killed Bongani handed over himself to the police, and that is giving us at least an understanding on what happened on the matter. Because everything that happens, it's easy to be associated with politics. And we'll want to ensure that cases are investigated thoroughly and perpetrators are arrested.
And just going back to the perception and the optics that exist around this particular matter, when you have, you know, heavily armed bodyguards of politicians in the province, that obviously adds to the perception that it is not safe to be associated with the party in that province. Again, managing that perception, how do you go about it?
Firstly, managing the perception, we need to address issues that create threats and insecurity. We need to ensure that there is stability in all municipalities and in all areas. Then there will be no need of such bodyguards. But two, we need to deal with all criminal activities that take place, because the issues of killings, the killing is a criminal issue. It needs to be treated as such.
And then just coming to the leadership that was elected, and there is, of course, also a perception that the gender agenda is in retreat, looking again at the top leadership structure in the province and mirroring that of the national ANC structure, where there's only one female represented there. Is the female agenda in retreat?
Well, not really in retreat, but I think we do need to discuss the issue of gender in the ANC. We must appreciate that the fact that there is only one woman in the officials is a concern. But also we must take note that in the whole PEC, more than 50% are women. And that helps because we talk about structures. The officials are not a constitutional structure, but are an organ that gives political direction. But it is important to ensure that we take the issue of women representation very serious, and we concur that that concern need to be addressed.
What about the issue of corruption and, again, the perceptions that exist when people have been fingered, people, are being investigated for certain alleged corrupt activities, and when they are elected onto the leadership structures of the African National Congress, does that not make a mockery of the ANC saying that it is actually serious about fighting corruption?
The ANC remains very committed in fighting and uprooting corruption. We are an organization that carries a responsibility to ensure good governance. Subscribing to good governance is a matter of must for us as the ANC. And therefore, if there are people who are being investigated, we say those people, their investigations must be done with no fear or favor, but their elections in the ANC structures cannot be stopped because anyone has a right to stand for any position. It is only when a person is found guilty where the ANC needs to take action because of the constitution of the ANC, but also the constitution of the country.
Does that not speak to the ANC perhaps not paying as much attention or perhaps not understanding the power of perception? Because, yes, you may be correct in saying that people are innocent until proven guilty. However, from an ethical perspective and from a perception perspective, it really doesn't do the party any favors.
Yes, that's why we have an integrity commission which on its own has to look on the allegations when there are allegations that are leveled against any member or leader of the ANC. The integrity commission will need to investigate that, and if it finds that those allegations have some prima facie evidence, then there is a need to act in that regard.
Who has the Integrity Committee found against?
There are a number of people who the Integrity Commission have found against them and made decisions. I'm sure at a national level, even from time to time, you will hear reports of the National Integrity Commission on various cases.
In KZN?
In KZN, currently, we will be establishing an integrity commission because we are from the provincial interim committee. So an interim committee does not enjoy constitutional powers, but it just assumes the function of the PEC in between that period, intervening period. Surely we will be establishing one, and we expect that the integrity commission will expect if there are cases of corruption, will act decisively.
So as we speak this morning, you and I, the Integrity Commission, as far as KZN is concerned, has not sanctioned anybody.
Well, there were cases before that were taken to Integrity Commission during the time of the PEC by then. But right now we need to establish one because we're from the era of the task team. And the task team did not establish the Integrity Commission. We are going to establish it as we reconstitute committees and subcommittees of the Provincial Executive Committee.
So moving ahead, and of course we have elections coming up next year, general elections in the country. What are your plans as the leadership of KZN?
Firstly, we have to ensure that all structures of the ANC are prepared to engage on an intensive campaign of the elections campaign. We need to go to all areas, ensure that we mobilize people behind the ANC. we can say with no hesitation that we're confident that people will vote for the ANC due to the work that the ANC government have done. We believe that people of KwaZulu-Natal knows that there is no organization that can take the South Africa into a total liberation except the African National Congress. The vision of the ANC, the programs we have put in place as government are clear in taking the people to a better life for all.
And as the newly elected leadership structure of the province, when do you plan on getting together in order to forge that way forward?
Well, we have already started and launched the Tumamina campaign where President Cyril Ramaphosa addressed the volunteers of the ANC in the province. And that event was held in Greater KwaDukuza region. We will be rolling out that campaign, which talks to addressing issues that are affecting communities. But also we will be embarking on intensive drive to ensure that each and every area, the membership, the structures of the ANC and the alliance are clear and focused on the elections campaign. For now, our immediate task is to ensure that people are registered, but also ensure that those who need to update their physical addresses, update those addresses before the voter registration is closed.
Well, Mr. Zikalala, thanks so much for your time this morning. And that is, of course, the African National Congress KZN chairperson, Sihle Zikalala, and he was, of course, elected unopposed this weekend. And we were also supposed to be joined by David Makhura, who's the Gauteng ANC chairperson, but at this stage, still struggling to establish contact with him. But as soon as we do, we'll get his views as well. So let's take a break, and when we come back, it will be time for your 7 o'clock news bulletin.